Stop. You are wasting your time. You are learning English the wrong way. Yes, I mean you, right now, watching this video. I know you care about your English. I know you are trying. You spend hours with your books, your apps, your grammar exercises. You are serious. But still, your English is not growing fast. You can read a little, maybe write a little, but when it is time to speak, your mind goes blank. You freeze. You cannot find the right words. Your mouth feels heavy. And the worst part? This has been happening for months, maybe even years. That is why I am saying it clearly, you are learning the wrong way. This is not your fault. Nobody taught you how to learn the right way. Schools, teachers, and many apps tell you to study in a way that does not lead to fluency. They tell you to focus on grammar rules, memorize word lists, and do endless exercises. But that is not how you learned your first language, and it is not how you will become confident in English. So before you waste one more year, listen carefully. Today, I will tell you the truth about why your English is stuck, and how to finally break free. This will be uncomfortable to hear, but it will change everything for you. I want you to imagine something. Imagine you have been training for a marathon. You run every day, but you only run in place, inside your living room. You never go outside. You never run on a road. You never feel the wind or the sun. You never meet other runners. On the day of the marathon, you are excited. You start running, and in 5 minutes, you are tired. You cannot keep going. Why? Because all your training was fake. You were moving your legs, yes, but you were not preparing for the real race. That is exactly what is happening with your English. You are studying, but not preparing for real life. You learn words, but never hear them in real conversations. You practice grammar, but never speak with a real person. You run every day in your books and apps, but when it is time for the real marathon, a conversation, you feel lost. This is the truth, you are not practicing English, you are only practicing, studying. And, studying, is not the same as using English. If this makes you feel a little angry, good. That means you are ready to hear the truth. Let me tell you the most common bad habits I see in English learners. The first bad habit is memorizing endless word lists. You write down 50 new words every day. You look at them again and again. You try to remember the meaning. But you never use them in a real sentence. You never hear them in a real story. You never say them to another person. After a few days, you forget them. All your effort is gone. The second bad habit is only studying grammar. You spend hours learning about tenses, clauses, conditionals, and exceptions. You can explain grammar rules better than many native speakers. But when you speak, you cannot make a simple sentence without thinking for 10 seconds. You freeze because you are trying to calculate grammar in your head instead of speaking naturally. The third bad habit is avoiding speaking. You tell yourself, I will speak when I am ready. I need more grammar first. I need more vocabulary first. But the truth is, you will never feel ready if you don't start speaking now. You will always feel like you are missing something. Does this sound like you? If it does, do not feel bad. Most learners are stuck in exactly these habits. But these habits are the reason you are not fluent yet. Think about your own study routine. Maybe you wake up early, open your English app, and complete your lesson of the day. You feel good. The app gives you points. It shows a little green check mark. You think, yes. I am learning. Then, in the afternoon, you watch a short grammar video on YouTube. You take notes. You underline important rules. You think, I will remember this next time. Later, you read a list of top 100 English verbs on a website. You say them to yourself, to go, to have, to make, to see, you repeat them again. You feel busy, you feel productive. But then, a friend calls you on the phone and says, "Hey, let's speak in English." And suddenly, all your work disappears from your brain. You cannot find the words. You panic. You feel embarrassed. You say, "Sorry, my English is not good." And inside, you feel frustrated, because you have been studying so much. This is the problem: you are doing a lot, but you are not doing the right things. I know you might think, but studying like this is normal. This is how schools teach. And yes, it is normal, but that does not mean it works. In school, teachers often follow a textbook from page 1 to page 200. Each week, you get a new unit. You memorize vocabulary. You do grammar exercises. You answer questions in the book. You take a test. You get a score. Maybe you pass. But when you try to speak, you realize that you cannot use what you learned. The words you studied do not come to your mind. The grammar you memorize does not help you form sentences fast enough. This is because knowing about English is not the same as speaking English. In school, you learn about English. You do not actually use English. And here is the dangerous part: many learners believe that if they just keep doing this long enough, they will magically become fluent. But years pass, and nothing changes. I don't want that for you. Let's be clear about why this way of learning fails. Your brain is not a machine for storing rules and lists. Your brain learns language through real, repeated, meaningful use. When you only study grammar rules, your brain stores them in a place for knowledge, not for action. That is why you can explain grammar but cannot speak quickly. When you memorize word lists, your brain keeps the words separate, like pieces of a puzzle in a box. But without a picture, without context, your brain does not know how to put the pieces together. And when you avoid speaking, your brain never builds the pathways to make sentences automatically. This is why the same pattern happens again and again: you study, you forget, you study again, you forget again. It is like pouring water into a bucket with a big hole at the bottom. No matter how much you pour, it never fills up. If you want to keep your English, you have to use it, not just study it. Think about how you learned your first language as a child. You did not start with grammar books. You did not write down lists of words. You listened to your parents, your friends, and people around you. You heard the same words and phrases again and again, in real situations. You connected the words with actions, feelings, and stories. You spoke slowly at first, with many mistakes, but people understood you. Over time, your brain made the language automatic. That is how language learning works naturally. But when we become adults, schools and apps try to teach us like we are robots, as if we can just download grammar and vocabulary. This does not work because speaking is a skill, not a fact. You cannot study your way to fluency, just like you cannot read about swimming and then expect to swim well the first time you touch the water. You must practice in a way that is real. Here is another reason the wrong way fails: it kills your confidence. When you spend years studying but still cannot speak fluently, you start to believe something is wrong with you. You think, maybe I am not good at languages. Maybe my memory is bad. Maybe I am too old. None of that is true. The problem is not you, it is the method. You are trying to drive a car, but the engine is missing. You are working hard, but the system you are using cannot take you to fluency. This is why you feel stuck. This is why you feel tired. And this is why many learners give up completely. But you are here, watching this video, because you have not given up yet. That means you still have a chance to fix this. I know exactly how this feels because I made the same mistakes. When I started learning another language, I followed the normal method. I bought a big grammar book. I made hundreds of flashcards with new words. I studied every day for months. I could pass tests, yes. I could fill in the blanks in exercises. I could translate sentences. But when I tried to talk to a real person, it was a disaster. My mind was full of grammar rules, but I could not put them together fast enough. I felt stupid. I thought maybe I just did not have the talent for languages. I remember one time, I met a native speaker and wanted to say something simple. But I forgot a basic word. I froze. I laughed awkwardly and switched back to my native language. I walked away feeling like a failure. That night, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about what they had said, listen, read, speak. It sounded so simple, but also so different from what I had been doing. I remembered how I learned my first language as a child: no grammar books, no vocabulary lists, just a lot of listening, reading, and speaking. I thought, what if I try this? What if I stop memorizing random words and stop focusing only on grammar? It was scary, because it meant letting go of the method I had used for years. But I also knew that if I didn't change, I would still be stuck 5 years from now. So the next day, I made a decision: would start learning the way that works, not the way that keeps me trapped. I promised myself I would give it 3 months. If it didn't work, I could always go back to my old way. But deep inside, I already felt this was the right choice. The right way to learn English is not complicated. You don't need to spend hundreds of dollars on books or courses. You don't need to study for 10 hours a day. You just need to learn in the way your brain naturally likes. And that way is this: listen every single day, read simple things you can understand, and speak as much as you can, even with mistakes. That's it. 3 steps. Listen. Read. Speak. This is how babies learn. This is how successful adult learners learn. This is how I finally started making progress after years of frustration. When you listen a lot, your brain starts to understand the rhythm, the sounds, and the patterns of English. When you read, you see the words and grammar in real use, and your brain connects them with meaning. When you speak, you train your mouth and your mind to work together automatically. These 3 activities work like a triangle, each one supports the others. If you do them every day, you will see results much faster than with the old method. Listening is the foundation. Think about how you learned your first language. You listened for months before you said your first word. Your brain needs to hear English again and again before it feels natural. This is not just about listening once or twice a week. You need to listen every single day. You can listen to podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube videos, TV shows, or even songs, but the key is to understand most of what you hear. If something is too difficult, you will get tired and stop. So choose content that is just a little challenging, but not impossible. Repeat it. Listen again the next day. Listen while you walk, while you cook, while you clean. Fill your life with English sounds. Over time, you will start to understand faster, and you will also begin to speak better, because speaking is just repeating what you have heard many times. The second step is reading, but not just any reading. You need to read material that is easy enough for you to understand without a dictionary. This is called graded reading. It could be children's books, short stories, or simplified novels. The goal is to enjoy the story and understand it naturally. Do not stop to translate every word. Do not worry about every grammar rule. Just follow the meaning. When you read a lot, you see vocabulary in context. You learn how words connect together. You also see grammar in action without having to memorize long explanations. Reading also improves your spelling and writing without extra effort. And here's the secret: when you read a story you like, you forget you are studying. You are just enjoying yourself, and that is when the best learning happens. The third step is speaking. This is the step most learners avoid, but it is the most important for fluency. You cannot wait until you feel ready to speak. You will never feel ready. You have to start now, with the English you already know. Speak to a friend, join an online language exchange, talk to yourself, or even describe what you are doing during the day. Yes, you will make mistakes. Yes, you will sometimes feel embarrassed. But every mistake is proof that you are learning. When you speak, your brain starts to connect the English you have heard and read with the muscles in your mouth. Over time, sentences come out faster and more naturally. The more you speak, the easier it becomes, and the more confident you feel. This method works because it matches how the brain naturally learns language. Listening gives your brain the sounds and patterns. Reading strengthens your vocabulary and shows grammar in real situations. Speaking connects everything together and makes it automatic. You don't need to force memorization, your brain will remember what you use often. You don't need to study long grammar tables, your brain will notice patterns after hearing and reading them many times. This is called natural acquisition. It is how you learned your first language, and it works for your second language too. The old way tries to push information into your head like data into a computer. The right way lets your brain absorb the language like a sponge. You do not need to start with 3 hours a day. You can start small, maybe 15 minutes of listening, 15 minutes of reading, and 5 minutes of speaking each day. The important thing is consistency. Doing a little every day is more powerful than studying a lot only once a week. Your brain needs regular contact with English to keep it fresh. Think of it like watering a plant. If you give it a huge amount of water only once a month, it will die. But if you give it a little water every day, it will grow strong and healthy. Your English is the same. Small, daily practice beats rare, intense study every time. One more important point, you must enjoy the process. If learning English feels like punishment, you will stop. That's why you should choose listening and reading materials that you actually like. Love stories. Read love stories in English. Interested in science? Listen to science podcasts in English. Like cooking? Watch cooking videos in English. When you enjoy what you are learning, your brain is relaxed, and you learn faster. If you only study boring textbooks, your brain will fight you. Make English a part of your life, not just a subject in school. This method is not magic. You will not be fluent in a week. But if you keep listening, reading, and speaking every day, your English will improve, faster than you think. After a few weeks, you will notice you understand more when you listen. After a few months, you will find that speaking feels easier. After a year, you will look back and be amazed at your progress. The key is to repeat the cycle, listen, read, speak, again and again. Just like exercise builds muscle, this practice builds fluency. And the best part? You will never again feel like you are wasting your time, because every minute will bring you closer to real English confidence. When I changed my method and started listening, reading, and speaking every day, I felt different within the first month. At first, it was small changes. I could understand simple podcasts without looking at a transcript. I could follow short conversations in movies without subtitles. I noticed that some words I had heard many times just appeared in my mind when I needed them, without me trying to remember. After 3 months, I could have real conversations. I still made mistakes, but I no longer froze. I could keep talking, even if I had to explain a word I didn't know. I met people who had been studying for years and still could not speak, and they were shocked at how quickly I was improving. This is not because I am special. It is because I finally gave my brain the kind of input and practice it needed. You can do the same. You do not have to wait for, someday, to speak English well. That day can come much sooner than you think. I have seen this method work for many students. One student, Maria, studied English in school for 8 years. She knew grammar very well but could not speak without long pauses. She felt shy in every conversation. I told her to stop focusing only on grammar and to start listening to English podcasts every day, reading simple books, and speaking with a language partner 3 times a week. At first, she was nervous, but she followed the plan. After 6 months, she could speak confidently with native speakers. She even started thinking in English during the day. Another student, Ahmed, had been memorizing word lists for years. He switched to reading short English news articles and talking to himself out loud every day. Within 4 months, his speaking speed doubled, and he no longer translated from his native language. These results are not magic, they are the natural outcome of learning the right way. The biggest surprise for me and my students is how much more enjoyable learning becomes. When you follow the old method, every study session feels like a test. You worry about mistakes, you feel pressure to remember, and you are afraid to speak. But when you follow the right way, listen, read, speak, you start to see English as part of your life, not just something you study. You laugh at funny stories. You feel proud when you understand a podcast without subtitles. You smile when you say something correctly without thinking. This positive feeling keeps you going. Learning becomes addictive in a good way. You don't need to force yourself to study, you want to do it. That is why this method works not only faster but also longer, because you will actually stick with it. After you start improving, there will be a temptation to speed up by going back to your old habits, like memorizing huge word lists. Do not do it. This is like a runner who starts winning races but then decides to train only by running in place again. You might think you are helping yourself, but you are actually slowing down. If you find a new word while listening or reading, write it down with the sentence it came from, not alone. Review it in context, and try to use it in your speaking. This way, the word is connected to meaning, not just to a translation in your mind. Many learners slow their progress because they try to speak perfectly. They think, if I make mistakes, people will think I am stupid. This is wrong. People will not think you are stupid, they will think you are brave for trying. Every mistake is a small teacher. If you avoid speaking because you are afraid, you will never become fluent. Remember, babies make thousands of mistakes before they speak perfectly. You must do the same. Speak now, speak often, and let the mistakes help you grow. Another mistake is waiting to feel motivated before you practice. If you only practice when you feel like it, you will practice less and less over time. Fluency is built by habits, not feelings. Some days you will be tired. Some days you will not want to listen, read, or speak. Do it anyway. Even if you only do 10 minutes, that is still progress. The habit is more important than the size of the study session. Once you start, motivation often comes naturally. So here is my challenge to you, starting today, for the next 30 days, do this every single day, listen to English for at least 15 minutes, read something in English for at least 10 minutes, and speak for at least 5 minutes. Do not skip a day. Do not tell yourself you are too busy. You can find 30 minutes in your day if it is important to you. Turn off one TV show in your native language and replace it with English. Read one article in English instead of scrolling on social media. Speak to yourself in English while cooking or walking. This is how you build fluency. If you are serious about English, you must commit fully. Half effort will give you half results. The good news is, you do not need to commit to boring, painful study. You are committing to enjoying English in your daily life. The more you do it, the easier it gets. At first, you might need to push yourself. But after a few weeks, it will feel strange not to listen, read, and speak in English each day. It will become part of your identity. You will start to see yourself as someone who lives in English, not just studies it. You might not see big changes in the first week, but trust me, they are coming. Language learning is like planting seeds. At first, you see nothing. Then, small green shoots appear. Soon, the plant grows bigger and stronger. If you quit too early, you never see the results. But if you keep going, one day you realize you are speaking, understanding, and thinking in English without fear. This is the moment all your effort will be worth it. But you must believe in the process and keep going even when it feels slow. Stop wasting time on the wrong way. Stop memorizing endless lists you will forget. Stop hiding from speaking because you are afraid. Today is the day to start learning English in the way that works. Listen every day. Read simple stories. Speak, even with mistakes. Make English part of your life, not just a subject in school. In 1 year, you will look back and thank yourself for starting now. The best time to begin was yesterday. The second best time is today. So close this video, open your ears, open your eyes, open your mouth, and start living in English. Your future fluent self is waiting.